everyone. Today, I want to talk to you about something simple yet powerful, something that shapes our journeys and defines our destinies, faithful steps. In life, we are all walking a path. Sometimes the road is clear, straight, and full of light. Other times, it winds through dark valleys, uncertain and difficult. But no matter the terrain, what matters most is not how fast we move, or how grand our strides are. It is that we take each step faithfully. Sure, here's a full expanded essay around asterisk asterisk. Faithful steps are small but consistent actions. Asterisk asterisk about asterisk asterisk 1006 words asterisk asterisk, written in a thoughtful and flowing style without any headings. Faithful steps are small but consistent actions. This idea, though simple at first glance, carries a depth of wisdom that has shaped lives, built empires, and nurtured dreams into reality. In a world that celebrates overnight success, viral fame, and instant gratification, it is easy to forget the quiet power of faithfulness in the small things. Yet when we pause and reflect on the greatest achievements, the most beautiful relationships, and the deepest personal growth, we find a common thread: the accumulation of small, faithful steps, taken again and again, without applause, without immediate reward, and often without visible results. For a very long time, it is often said that consistency beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, but it's more than just hard work. It is the belief, the faith that small actions matter. Faithful steps are not just about effort, they are about trust. Trust that what we do today, even if it seems insignificant, carries weight for tomorrow. Trust that watering the seed, even when there is no sign of green, will eventually lead to a harvest. It is a way of living that says, I will show up, I will be present, I will take the next right step, even when I cannot see the end of the road. One of the greatest misconceptions is that success is one giant leap. People see the finished product, the book published, the business launched, the dream achieved, and think it happened in a flash. They rarely see the long nights, the early mornings, the repeated failures, the moments of doubt, and the choice to keep going when it would have been easier to quit. Small but consistent actions are like drops of water against a stone. One drop seems to do nothing, but over time the stone is worn smooth, reshaped by persistence. Take, for example, a musician learning to play an instrument. No one wakes up one day able to play beautifully. It is the slow, often frustrating practice, day after day, that builds skill. Scales repeated until they are second nature, songs played imperfectly until they finally flow, fingers sore from the effort, but returning to the keys or the strings the next day nonetheless. Each practice session on its own might seem small, even meaningless. But together, they create something extraordinary. It is not the single grand performance that makes a musician. It is the thousands of unseen hours spent faithfully practicing. In personal growth, the story is much the same. Becoming a kinder, wiser, more patient person doesn't happen by reading a single book or attending one inspiring seminar. It happens in the countless small choices made daily, choosing to listen instead of speak, choosing to forgive instead of hold a grudge, choosing to pause instead of react in anger. Each moment is a chance to take a faithful step toward the person we aspire to be. No one sees these moments, no one claps for them, but over time they shape who we are. Relationships, too, are built on faithful steps. A strong marriage, a deep friendship, a trusting partnership, these are not created by grand gestures alone. They are forged through the tiny, consistent actions of love. A word of encouragement, a moment of presence, a listening ear, an apology, a shared laugh. The faithful step of showing up again and again, even when life is busy, even when emotions are messy, even when it would be easier to withdraw. Relationships thrive not because of one spectacular act of love, but because of the countless small ways love is lived out day by day. Even in the realm of dreams and goals, the principle remains true. Wanting to write a novel, start a business, or make a difference in the world can feel overwhelming when we look only at the magnitude of the task. But every great dream is made possible by the small, consistent steps that lead toward it. A page written each day becomes a manuscript. A phone call made each morning builds a network. A daily act of kindness starts a ripple effect. Faithful steps require not only action, but the patience to let the results unfold in their time, knowing that our role is to be faithful with today's step, not to control the entire journey. Faithful steps teach us humility. They remind us that greatness is not about grandstanding, but about commitment. They ask us to trust that what is unseen matters as much, if not more, than what is celebrated. This kind of living builds character. It teaches perseverance, endurance, and hope. It fosters a quiet inner strength that is not dependent on the approval of others or the certainty of outcomes. There is something deeply spiritual about taking faithful steps. It acknowledges that we are part of a bigger story, one that is not always clear to us. When we take small, faithful actions, we are sowing seeds whose fruits we may not see for years or even at all. It is an act of trust, of surrender, of believing that our efforts have meaning beyond immediate results. It is an offering of faith to the future. In difficult times, when everything feels uncertain, faithful steps are even more important. When fear clouds our vision, when despair whispers that nothing we do matters, the discipline of taking one small step forward becomes a rebellion against hopelessness. In moments of deep loss, personal failure, or overwhelming challenge, faithful steps offer a lifeline. We may not be able to fix everything at once. We may not know what the future holds. But we can do the next small thing, make the bed, write the email, have the conversation, offer the prayer, take the walk, and in doing so, we keep moving forward. There is a deep, almost hidden joy that comes from living this way. When we focus on small, consistent actions, we free ourselves from the pressure of needing to achieve something monumental all at once. We find meaning in the journey itself. We begin to notice beauty in the process, the quiet satisfaction of a job well done, the comfort of knowing we showed up, the peace that comes from aligning our actions with our values, even when no one is looking. Over time, faithful steps create lives of extraordinary impact, not because the individuals who take them are perfect or even especially gifted, but because they refuse to stop moving forward. They chose to believe that the small mattered, that faithfulness was more powerful than flashiness, that perseverance was more valuable than praise. Consider the farmer who plants his seeds. He cannot rush the growth, cannot force the seasons. All he can do is prepare the soil, sow the seeds, water the ground, and trust the process. His daily tasks may seem small and repetitive, but they are absolutely vital. Without them, there would be no harvest. And when the harvest comes, it is not just the result of a few weeks of effort, it is the culmination of months of small, faithful steps. The same is true for us. We are sowing seeds with every small action we take. We may not always see the fruits immediately. In fact, sometimes we may not see them at all in the ways we expect, but faithfulness is never wasted. Every kind word, every brave step, every quiet moment of persistence matters. It matters not only because of the potential outcomes, but because of who we become in the process. Living a life of faithful steps is ultimately about integrity. It is about aligning our actions with our values, even when no one else knows. It is about being true to the callings we feel deep within us, even when they seem invisible to the world. It is about building a life of substance rather than one of surface-level success. It can be tempting to dismiss small actions as unimportant, to think that unless something is big and visible and celebrated, it doesn't count. But the truth is, The most important things in life are built one faithful step at a time: character, love, excellence. Vision, none of these happen in a moment. They are the result of choosing again and again to act faithfully. So if today you feel that your steps are small, take heart. You are in good company. Every great journey has been walked one small step at a time. Every meaningful legacy has been built through countless acts of faithfulness. What matters is not how fast you move or how grand your gestures are. What matters is that you keep taking those small, consistent actions. That you keep planting, keep trusting, keep believing, because one day you will look back and realize that those small steps were not small at all. They were the very foundation of the life you were meant to build. Would you also like a short version about 400-500 words for a speech or an article summary too? Of course. Here's a full expansion on asterisk asterisk. Trust is the foundation, asterisk asterisk, written in a flowing essay style without any headings and around asterisk asterisk 1006. 100 words asterisk asterisk as you requested. Trust is the foundation. This truth quietly shapes our lives more than we often realize. In every relationship, in every endeavor, in every dream we pursue, trust is the bedrock upon which everything is built. Without trust, structures crumble. Without trust, progress halts. Without trust, connection dies. Trust is invisible yet essential, fragile yet powerful, simple yet endlessly deep. It is a force that binds people together, fuels movements, and allows individuals to rise above fear into hope, above doubt into action. At its heart, trust is a choice. It is the decision to believe even when there are no guarantees. It is the willingness to be vulnerable, to lean into uncertainty, to offer a part of ourselves without demanding absolute security in return. Trust does not grow by force, it grows by freedom. It thrives not because there is no risk, but because we dare to hope that the risk is worth it. Every meaningful relationship is built on trust. Between friends, it is trust that creates the safety to share our real selves, the parts that are not polished, not perfect, not always proud. Between partners, it is trust that allows love to deepen beyond surface attraction into true intimacy. In families, it is trust that forms the bridge between generations, creating a bond that can endure misunderstandings, disagreements, and time. When trust exists, relationships flourish, communication is open, forgiveness is possible, and support is steadfast. But when trust is broken, even the strongest relationships suffer. Suspicion grows like weeds, fear takes root, and every interaction becomes tinged with caution and doubt. Trust is not simply believing that someone will never make a mistake. It is believing that even when mistakes happen, the underlying bond will hold. Trust acknowledges human imperfection but chooses to believe in the goodness, the sincerity, and the commitment of the other person. It is resilient. It does not demand perfection but leans into grace. Beyond personal relationships, trust is essential in communities, in organizations, and even in nations. A community without trust cannot function. If neighbors do not trust each other, isolation spreads. If citizens do not trust leaders, governance fails. If teams do not trust one another, collaboration breaks down into competition and politics. Trust is the unseen thread that weaves people together into a collective capable of achieving more than any one person could alone. In leadership, trust is the single greatest currency. A leader can have vision, talent, and authority, but without trust, they are powerless. Followers will only commit to a leader they trust. Employees will only invest their best efforts in a workplace where they feel trusted and where they, in turn, trust those in charge. Trust transforms mere compliance into true loyalty and passion. It allows for innovation because people feel safe to take risks, to fail, and to try again. Trust multiplies strength because it turns individual efforts into unified purpose. Building trust requires consistency over time. Words alone are not enough. They must be matched by actions. Promises must be kept. Integrity must be visible. Trust grows in the small moments, when someone shows up when they say they will, when they keep a confidence, when they admit a mistake instead of hiding it. Every choice either strengthens or weakens the foundation of trust, and because trust is delicate, once broken, it is difficult and slow to rebuild. This is why protecting trust is one of the greatest responsibilities we hold in any relationship or role. Trust also matters deeply in the journey of personal growth. Trusting ourselves, our instincts, our abilities, our resilience is vital. Without self-trust, we are paralyzed by self-doubt, we second, guess every decision, seek constant validation, and fear taking steps forward. Self-trust is not arrogance, it is a quiet confidence that says, I am capable, I can handle what comes, I will not abandon myself. It is built by keeping our own promises, by showing up for ourselves day after day, by being honest about our needs and desires. Similarly, trust is at the core of pursuing any dream or goal. Dreams, by their very nature, live in the realm of the unseen. They require a leap of faith, a trust that the work we do now will eventually bear fruit, even if we cannot see it today. Every artist, entrepreneur, athlete, and innovator must trust the process. They must believe that their small steps will one day lead to something meaningful. Without that trust, discouragement wins. Doubt suffocates progress. Faith in the process fuels perseverance. Trust is also what allows us to embrace change. Life is full of transitions, new seasons, unexpected turns, endings, and beginnings. Change is often frightening because it involves stepping into the unknown. Yet trust acts as an anchor. Trust in ourselves, trust in the people around us, trust in a higher plan. These allow us to face change with courage instead of fear. Trust reminds us that while we cannot control everything, we are not helpless. On a deeper spiritual level, trust is the foundation of faith itself. Believing in something greater than ourselves, in a divine purpose, in a guiding hand, in the possibility of redemption and meaning requires trust. It asks us to surrender the illusion of total control and to rest in the belief that we are seen, known, and loved. Trust in the spiritual sense brings peace even amidst storms, hope even amidst loss. It allows us to live with open hands and open hearts, receiving and giving freely. Yet trust is not blind, it is discerning. Trust does not mean ignoring red flags or staying in harmful situations. Healthy trust is built with wisdom. It recognizes when boundaries are needed, when forgiveness must be paired with accountability, when loyalty must be balanced with self-respect. Trust is strong, not naive. It is kind, but not foolish. Many times, trust is hardest when it has been broken before. Past betrayals leave scars. They make us cautious, guarded, hesitant to open up again. Rebuilding trust after it has been shattered is one of the most difficult tasks we face as human beings. It requires patience, honesty, and a deep willingness to do the hard work of repair, but it is possible. Wounds can heal. Trust, though fragile, can be restored, and when it is, it often becomes even stronger, tempered like steel by fire. Ultimately, trust calls us to vulnerability. To trust someone or something is to acknowledge that we are not entirely in control. It is to risk disappointment, to risk hurt, but it is also the only way to experience true connection, true growth, true life. Walls protect us from pain, but they also isolate us from love and joy. Trust tears down the walls. It invites us into relationship, into community, into hope. When we live with trust as our foundation, we live freer. We are not constantly gripped by fear, suspicion, or cynicism. We are able to give generously, to love deeply, to dream boldly. We become builders instead of critics, encouragers instead of skeptics. Our lives become bridges instead of barriers. Trust transforms not only our relationships and endeavors, but also our own hearts. It teaches us humility, recognizing that we are not self-sufficient. It teaches us gratitude, appreciating the people and opportunities we are given. It teaches us courage, stepping forward even when the path is unclear. In the end, to build anything lasting, a marriage, a friendship, a career, a dream, a life, we must build it on trust, not on control, not on perfection, not on fear. Trust is the unseen foundation that holds everything else up. It is the quiet strength beneath every visible achievement. It is the reason we can move forward again and again, even when the road ahead is uncertain. Trust is not easy, it is not automatic. It must be nurtured, protected, and sometimes fought for. But it is worth it, for without trust, life becomes small, cold, and closed. With trust, life opens up wide, warm, full of possibility. Trust is the foundation, and on it we can build something beautiful, something lasting, something true. Would you also like a shorter version of this for a quick speech or summary? Of course. Here's a full expansion on asterisk asterisk. Faithful steps require patience, asterisk asterisk, written in a smooth essay style without headings, aiming for around asterisk asterisk 1,600 words asterisk asterisk as you asked. Faithful steps require patience. It is an undeniable truth that every meaningful journey, every worthwhile goal, and every significant transformation is marked by the necessity of waiting, enduring, and persisting over time. Patience is not just an accessory to the journey. It is the very soil in which faithful steps are planted and grown. Without patience, even the most determined steps falter. Without patience, even the most passionate dreams wither under the pressure of unmet expectations and delayed results. Patience is not passivity. It is not sitting idly by, wishing for change to come. It is active waiting, a posture of steady, determined, hopeful persistence. It is the willingness to continue moving forward, even when the pace is slower than we would like, even when progress is invisible to the eye, even when doubts whisper that we are wasting our time. Faithful steps without patience are like seeds planted without water. They may be sown, but they will not survive. Patience sustains the steps, nurtures them, and ultimately brings them to fruition. In our world today, patience is often seen as a weakness or a nuisance. We are conditioned to expect immediate results. Instant communication, fast food, next day delivery. Everything around us teaches that waiting is something to be avoided, not embraced. Yet the deepest, most enduring achievements of life defy this hurried mindset. A tree does not grow tall and strong overnight. A masterpiece is not painted in a moment. A loving relationship is not built in a day. All these require faithful steps, taken over time, watered and shielded by the virtue of patience. Patience is what allows us to keep going when our initial excitement fades. It is easy to take faithful steps when the path is fresh, when enthusiasm is high, and when the rewards seem just around the corner. But what about when the journey becomes long and tedious, when obstacles arise and progress feels glacial, when sacrifices are made but no results are seen? It is patience that answers these challenges, patience that whispers, "Keep going. Your efforts are not wasted. Growth is happening even if you cannot yet see it." Faithful steps require patience because real change happens below the surface long before it becomes visible. Consider the example of a seed planted in the ground. For weeks, perhaps months, there is no sign of life above the soil. To the casual observer, it might seem that nothing is happening at all. But under the ground, roots are spreading, anchoring themselves deeply, preparing the seedling for the day it will break through the surface. Without patience, the gardener might abandon the seed too soon, digging it up in frustration or neglecting its care. But with patience, the gardener trusts the unseen work, continues to water and tend the soil, believing that growth is on its way. In the same way, many of the faithful steps we take in our lives are laying foundations that we cannot immediately see. A student studying night after night may not feel any smarter day by day, but knowledge is building. An athlete training in the early hours of the morning may not see instant improvements, but strength and skill are being forged. A parent investing time and love into a child may not always witness immediate results, but character and resilience are being shaped. Patience is the bridge between effort and reward, between sowing and reaping. Patience also teaches us humility. It reminds us that we are not in control of every outcome or every timeline. We can control our steps, our faithfulness, our attitude, but we cannot force results to come exactly when or how we wish. There is a natural order to growth, a rhythm to seasons, a process to development that we must honor. Patience acknowledges this truth and submits to it. It says, "I will do my part, and I will trust the process for the rest." Faithful steps require patience because setbacks and failures are inevitable. No journey worth taking is free from difficulties. There will be days when it feels like we are moving backward instead of forward. There will be times when the temptation to quit is overwhelming. In those moments, patience is what keeps us grounded. It allows us to see setbacks not as dead ends, but as part of the journey. It teaches us to endure hardship, to learn from mistakes, and to keep stepping forward even when the path is rough. Patience also preserves our joy along the journey. Without patience, we are constantly living for the future, for the next milestone, for the finish line. We miss the beauty of the present moment, the small victories along the way. Patience allows us to celebrate progress even when it is incremental. It helps us to find contentment in the process, rather than pinning all our hopes on a distant destination. It transforms the journey itself into something meaningful, not just the end goal. In relationships, patience is essential for faithful steps to have their full effect. Trust, love, forgiveness, all these qualities grow over time. It is easy to expect immediate harmony, immediate understanding, immediate change in others, but real relationship building requires giving people the time and space to grow, to heal, to understand. It requires patience with others' faults, patience with our own, and patience with the often slow work of reconciliation and deep connection. Without patience, we become harsh, demanding, and quick to judge. With patience, we become gracious, empathetic, and able to nurture lasting bonds. Even in pursuing dreams, patience is a quiet but powerful companion. Every great achievement is the sum of many small, faithful steps taken over years, often decades. It is the patient artist who paints a little every day, the patient entrepreneur who refines their vision after every failure, the patient writer who crafts sentence after sentence, chapter after chapter, believing that one day their story will be complete. Dreams die not because they are impossible, but because we lack the patience to continue when progress feels slow. Patience also strengthens our resilience. When we practice patience, we build emotional muscles that allow us to endure disappointment, adapt to change, and bounce back from adversity. We learn that discomfort is not deadly, that waiting is not wasting, that slow growth is still growth. In a culture that often equates speed with success, patience offers a deeper, truer wisdom. It says that what is built slowly is built to last. Faithful steps require patience because the most important things in life are not things that can be rushed. Wisdom, character, love, legacy, these are all grown slowly, layer upon layer, moment by moment. They require showing up day after day, choosing the right thing even when it costs us, believing in the value of unseen progress. They require trusting that the work we are doing matters, even if no one else sees it yet. Sometimes the hardest part of patience is dealing with uncertainty. We want guarantees. We want to know that our efforts will pay off, that our dreams will be realized, that our sacrifices will be worth it. But faithfulness often means stepping forward without those guarantees. It means doing the work, sowing the seeds, making the sacrifices without a promise of immediate reward. Patience helps us to live with that uncertainty. It teaches us to find peace in the waiting, to rest in the belief that good things are growing even when we cannot yet see them. Patience is not weakness, it is strength. It is the quiet power of endurance, the steady confidence that refuses to be shaken by temporary setbacks or slow progress. It is the inner calm that allows us to keep moving forward with grace, with hope, and with determination. It is the companion of faithfulness, the hidden engine that drives every step we take. In the end, every great story is a story of patience. Every meaningful life is marked by seasons of waiting, seasons of slow growth, seasons where faithful steps were taken in the dark, believing that light would eventually come. When we look back on our journeys, we rarely remember the rushed moments. We remember the long roads, the quiet days of perseverance, the slow unfolding of dreams and relationships and growth that could not have happened any faster without being diminished. Faithful steps require patience, and patience is a gift. It transforms the journey from a desperate race into a purposeful pilgrimage. It allows us to walk in peace rather than in anxiety. It teaches us to trust in the process, trust in ourselves, trust in the timing that is often wiser than our own. And when at last the fruits of our faithfulness appear, they are all the sweeter because we waited, we endured, we believed. Patience is not about standing still. It is about moving forward at the right pace, with the right heart, with the steadfast belief that every faithful step matters, that every day of quiet perseverance is building something we cannot yet fully see. And in that unseen place, beauty is being formed, dreams are being shaped, and the foundations of a lasting legacy are being laid one patient, faithful step at a time. Would you also like me to craft an asterisk shorter, summarized asterisk version of this for speech or article use? Sure, here's a full expansion on asterisk asterisk. Courage is necessary asterisk asterisk, written smoothly in essay style without headings and around asterisk asterisk 1006. 100 words asterisk asterisk, just how you asked. Courage is necessary. It is not just a luxury for the few, not just an extraordinary virtue for heroes in history books or characters in stories. Courage is essential for every person who wants to live fully, love deeply, and build something meaningful. Without courage, dreams remain dormant, relationships remain shallow, and potential remains untapped. Courage is the spark that ignites action. It is the bridge between fear and possibility, between hesitation and fulfillment. It is necessary because life, at its core, demands it from us in countless ways, both big and small. Every day, we are presented with opportunities that call for courage. Speaking an honest word when it would be easier to stay silent takes courage. Starting something new without knowing the outcome requires courage. Continuing to believe in yourself after a failure demands courage. Even choosing to be vulnerable, to admit you need help, or to say I love you or I'm sorry, are all acts of courage. It is woven into the fabric of everything that matters most. Courage is necessary because fear is inevitable. Fear is a natural part of being human. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of pain, fear of the unknown, these fears can easily dominate our thoughts and decisions if we let them. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the willingness to act despite it. Courage acknowledges fear but refuses to be controlled by it. It says, I see the danger, the uncertainty, the risk, and I choose to move forward anyway. Without courage, fear becomes the ruling force of our lives. It dictates what we attempt, who we trust, how far we are willing to go. It shrinks our world until it becomes small and safe and suffocating. But with courage, our world expands. We find ourselves doing things we once thought impossible, reaching places we never imagined we could go. Courage unlocks the door to growth and change. It challenges us to step outside our comfort zones and discover new possibilities. Courage is necessary in relationships. Loving someone deeply always involves risk. It means opening yourself up to the possibility of being hurt. It means trusting someone with your heart, knowing they are not perfect, and that misunderstandings and disappointments will inevitably come. It means being willing to have difficult conversations, to forgive, to let go of pride, and to keep showing up even when it's hard. Without courage, relationships remain superficial, guarded, and brittle. With courage, they deepen, strengthen, and grow resilient. Courage is necessary in pursuing dreams and ambitions. Every dream worth chasing involves obstacles, setbacks, and moments of doubt. It is easy to start something when excitement is high and everything feels possible. It is much harder to keep going when the work becomes tedious, when criticism comes, or when the goal seems distant and unreachable. Courage fuels perseverance. It whispers, "Keep going," when the road gets rough. It reminds us that every step forward, even a trembling one, is still progress. It keeps the dream alive when logic might say to give up. Courage is necessary in standing up for what is right. In a world that often rewards conformity, it takes bravery to speak out against injustice, to defend the vulnerable, to uphold truth and integrity when it would be easier and safer to look the other way. Courage demands that we live according to our values, not just when it's convenient, but when it costs us something: respect, comfort, even security. Without courage, the world stagnates in the face of wrongs. With courage, even small acts can spark great change. Courage is also necessary for self-growth. Facing ourselves honestly, our flaws, our fears, our wounds, takes immense bravery. It is far easier to hide behind distractions, to blame others, to stay busy and avoid introspection. But true transformation requires the courage to confront uncomfortable truths, to admit when we are wrong, to take responsibility for our lives, and to do the hard work of healing and growing. It means stepping into the unknown of who we can become, shedding old skins and moving into new ways of being. Often courage is misunderstood. People think it must be loud, dramatic, fearless, but most acts of real courage are quiet, ordinary, and trembling. It is the mother who gets up every morning to care for her children while battling her own private battles. It is the student who raises their hand to ask a question, risking embarrassment. It is the employee who respectfully voices a concern when they see something wrong. It is the individual who gets up and tries again after a crushing defeat. Courage is not the absence of trembling hands or pounding hearts. It is moving forward even when they are present. Courage is necessary because life is uncertain. No matter how much we plan, no matter how carefully we try to control outcomes, life will surprise us. Change will come, loss will come, challenges will come. We cannot eliminate risk from life, but with courage, we can face the unknown with open hands and steady hearts. We can grieve losses without losing hope. We can adapt to changes without losing ourselves. We can welcome new beginnings without being paralyzed by what-ifs. In many ways, courage is a kind of deep trust in ourselves, trust in others, trust that even if things do not turn out as we hoped, we will find a way through. It is an act of faith, a belief that we are strong enough, resilient enough, creative enough to handle whatever comes. This trust gives birth to courage, and courage in turn reinforces trust, creating a powerful cycle that propels us forward. Courage is necessary for leadership. A true leader is not someone who merely directs others, but someone who is willing to take risks on their behalf. It is someone who steps forward into uncertainty not because they have all the answers, but because they are willing to find them. It is someone who is willing to make difficult decisions, to stand alone when necessary, and to take responsibility for outcomes. Leaders with courage inspire others to find their own courage. They create environments where people are empowered to speak up, to innovate, and to grow. Teaching courage, modeling courage, and encouraging courage in others is one of the greatest gifts we can offer. We do this not by pretending we are fearless, but by showing that fear does not have the final word. We show that trembling hands can still build bridges, that shaking voices can still speak truth, that quaking hearts can still love fiercely. We show that it is okay to be scared as long as we do not let fear make our choices for us. Courage is necessary because regret is heavy. Many of the deepest regrets people carry are not for the risks they took that did not work out, but for the chances they did not take at all. The words left unsaid, the dreams left unpursued, the opportunities left unopened because fear won the battle. Courage frees us from living lives defined by regret. It allows us to reach the end of our days knowing that even if we failed sometimes, even if we stumbled, we truly lived. Ultimately, courage makes everything else possible. Without courage, love cannot bloom, dreams cannot be realized, justice cannot prevail, and growth cannot happen. Courage breathes life into hope. It fans the flames of creativity. It carves paths through the wilderness. It builds bridges where others see chasms. It lifts our eyes beyond our immediate fears to the broader horizon of what could be. The necessity of courage does not mean that we must never feel afraid or uncertain. It means that we learn to coexist with those feelings without being ruled by them. It means we train ourselves, step by step, to lean into the discomfort, to embrace risk, to value growth over safety, and purpose over comfort. Every time we choose courage, we strengthen it. It grows within us like a muscle, preparing us for even greater challenges and adventures ahead. Courage does not guarantee that we will not fail. It does not guarantee that we will not be hurt. But it does guarantee that our lives will be richer, deeper, and more meaningful. It guarantees that we will truly experience life in all its fullness, rather than watching from the sidelines. Courage is necessary because we are called to live not small, fearful lives, but expansive, daring lives. Lives filled with love, with purpose, with impact. Lives that require us to step beyond the familiar into the unknown, to risk loss for the sake of gain, to endure discomfort for the sake of something greater. Courage is necessary. It is the unseen power behind every leap of faith, every step forward, every act of love and defiance and hope. It is not reserved for the extraordinary few. It is available to every ordinary heart willing to choose it, one trembling but determined step at a time. And in choosing courage, we choose life. Would you also like a more poetic or speech-like version if you're planning to present it somewhere, of course? Here's a full, smooth expansion of ***, persistence builds strength, ***, written without headings and aiming for around *** 1,600 words ***, exactly how you requested. Persistence builds strength. It is a simple truth, yet one that carries profound meaning for every aspect of life. Strength, whether physical, emotional, mental, or even spiritual, is never an accident. It does not arrive suddenly, handed to us without effort. Strength is earned, cultivated day after day through the act of persistence, the choice to keep going, to keep striving, even when challenges mount and progress feels slow. Without persistence, strength remains a dream. With persistence, it becomes a reality. Persistence is the quiet determination to continue when the easier option would be to give up. It is the refusal to let temporary setbacks define the ultimate outcome. Every time we persist, even when circumstances seem against us, we add another layer to our resilience. We stretch the limits of what we thought was possible. We push beyond comfort zones and develop an inner fortitude that cannot be taught in theory but only earned through experience. Each act of persistence builds muscle, both literal and metaphorical, and over time, those muscles become a solid foundation that can withstand the weight of life's demands. In the realm of physical fitness, the principle is clear. No one becomes strong by lifting weights once or running a mile a single time. It is through repeated effort, consistent practice, and pushing through soreness and fatigue that the body adapts and grows stronger. Muscles are literally broken down and rebuilt through the process of training. If a person stopped at the first sign of discomfort, strength would never come. It is the same with every other type of strength. Whether it's the strength to endure emotional pain, the strength to overcome intellectual challenges, or the strength to maintain faith during hard times, it is persistence that develops the capacity to bear more, to do more, and to become more. Persistence builds strength because it demands that we confront obstacles rather than retreat from them. Challenges are inevitable. Life guarantees hardship, disappointment, and failure at some point. But it is our response to these obstacles that determines whether we grow stronger or become defeated. Persistence teaches us to see obstacles not as barriers, but as stepping stones. Each hurdle overcome, each difficulty faced, adds to our arsenal of experience, knowledge, and emotional resilience. Over time, we realize that we are capable of handling far more than we initially believed. Strength gained through persistence is different from fleeting success. It is rooted in depth and authenticity. It is not strength that crumbles at the first sign of trouble, but strength that has been tested and proven over time. It is a strength that says, I have been through storms before, and I know I can weather this one too. It is a quiet confidence, born not of arrogance but of experience, that allows us to move forward even when the path is uncertain. Persistence also builds strength because it requires discipline. When we persist, we choose to stay committed to a goal even when emotions waver, motivation dwindles, or distractions arise. Discipline is the act of choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort. It is doing what needs to be done, even when we do not feel like it. Each time we exercise discipline, we reinforce our ability to control our impulses and align our actions with our values and goals. Over time, this self-mastery becomes a source of immense inner strength. Moreover, persistence shapes our mindset. It trains us to adopt a growth perspective where failure is not final but merely feedback. It teaches us that ability is not fixed, that improvement is possible through effort and dedication. It encourages us to see mistakes as opportunities to learn and setbacks as chances to build resilience. This mindset is powerful because it transforms the way we approach challenges. Instead of being intimidated by difficulty, we begin to see it as a natural and necessary part of the journey to strength. Persistence also fosters patience. Strength is not built overnight. It is a cumulative process, often slow and filled with periods where visible progress is minimal. Without patience, it would be easy to give up, to conclude that our efforts are futile. But persistence teaches us to trust the process, to keep sowing seeds even when the harvest is not immediately visible. It reminds us that meaningful growth often happens in the hidden places, beneath the surface, long before it is evident to the outside world. There are countless stories of individuals whose strength was built through relentless persistence. Athletes who trained for years before achieving greatness. Inventors who faced hundreds of failures before creating something revolutionary. Writers who endured rejection after rejection before publishing a beloved book. Entrepreneurs who faced bankruptcy before building thriving businesses. In every case, the common denominator was not talent alone nor luck, but a persistent refusal to quit. Their strength, the endurance, the wisdom, the innovation, the leadership was forged in the fires of perseverance. Persistence builds not only individual strength, but collective strength as well. Movements for justice, equality, and freedom throughout history were not the result of one-time efforts, but of sustained, persistent action by many people over time. Change on a societal level requires the strength of many individuals refusing to give up, even when progress is painfully slow, even when opposition is fierce. Their collective persistence creates a strength that can bend the arc of history. In our personal lives, Persistence strengthens our character. It teaches humility because we realize that success is not instant and that we need to work for it. It teaches gratitude because we appreciate the results more when we know what it cost to achieve them. It teaches empathy because we understand what it feels like to struggle, and we are more compassionate toward others who are on their own journeys. Strength of character, built through persistence, enables us to be better leaders, friends, partners, and citizens. Persistence also builds strength in unseen ways. Sometimes the growth is not in achieving the external goal, but in who we become along the way. Even if the dream changes, even if the original plan does not materialize as expected, the inner strength gained through persistence remains. We become more courageous, more adaptable, more wise. We develop an inner reservoir of strength that we can draw upon in future challenges, whether expected or unforeseen. There are moments when persistence feels futile, when the temptation to quit is overwhelming. These moments are critical. They test the depth of our commitment, the sincerity of our dreams, the resilience of our spirit. It is precisely in these moments, when it would be easiest to walk away, that persistence does its most important work. Every time we choose to take one more step, to give one more effort, to hold on a little longer, we are building strength even if we cannot feel it in the moment. Persistence is not blind stubbornness. It is not refusing to adapt or learn from mistakes. True persistence is flexible and wise. It adjusts strategies when needed. It listens to feedback. It evolves, but it does not abandon the goal. It finds new ways forward when the old ways are blocked. It is creative, resourceful, and resilient. It understands that strength is not just about pushing harder, but sometimes about pushing smarter. Persistence builds strength because it builds identity. Every time we persist, we are telling ourselves, I am someone who does not give up easily. I am someone who values growth over comfort. I am someone who can face difficulty and keep moving forward. Over time, these messages solidify into a powerful self-concept. We begin to see ourselves as strong, capable, resilient individuals. This identity becomes a source of strength in itself, fueling future acts of persistence and creating a virtuous cycle of growth. Ultimately, persistence is an act of hope. It says, I believe that my efforts matter. I believe that the future can be better. I believe that I can grow and overcome. Without hope, persistence would not be possible, and in persisting, we strengthen that hope. We prove to ourselves that change is possible, that progress is real, even if it is slow and hard. 1. Persistence builds strength because it aligns us with the natural rhythms of life. In nature, growth is always gradual. Trees take decades to reach their full height. Rivers carve canyons over centuries. Mountains rise over millennia. Nothing truly enduring happens instantly. When we persist, we tap into this timeless truth. We move at the pace of real, lasting growth. We build strength that, like ancient trees and mighty rivers, can endure the tests of time. In the end, the strength we build through persistence is not just for ourselves. It equips us to serve others, to support those who are struggling, to lift up those who are weary. Our strength becomes a shelter, a light, a source of encouragement. Persistence is not a solitary act. It ripples outward, inspiring and empowering others to find their own strength. Persistence builds strength quietly, steadily, powerfully. It shapes us into people who can face life's storms with courage, endure its winters with hope, and rise to its challenges with unwavering resolve. It is the bridge between who we are and who we are meant to become, and every step taken in persistence, no matter how small, moves us closer to the strength we seek. Would you also like a shorter, more motivational version for speeches or a summary quote collection from this piece? Of course, here's a full, smooth expansion of asterisk asterisk. Faithful steps are fueled by hope, asterisk asterisk, without headings, flowing naturally across approximately asterisk asterisk 1006. 100 words, asterisk, asterisk, as you asked. Faithful steps are fueled by hope. Hope is the invisible fire that sustains us when the path is long and the road ahead is uncertain. It is the energy behind every choice to keep moving forward, even when we cannot yet see the finish line. Without hope, faithful steps lose their direction and their strength. Hope gives us the reason to rise after a fall, to believe in the unseen good, and to trust that our efforts, even the small and unseen ones, have meaning. Every faithful step taken is an act of hope in motion, a silent declaration that the future can be better than the present. Hope whispers that every action matters. When we take faithful steps, whether in our relationships, our work, our healing, or our dreams, we are often walking in uncertainty. Results are not immediate. Recognition is not guaranteed. Obstacles can be many and encouragement few. Without hope, it would be easy to abandon the journey, but hope fuels faithful steps by reminding us that progress often happens underground before it ever breaks the surface. Just as a seed must push through darkness before it sees the light, our efforts must sometimes endure a season of hidden growth. Hope keeps us patient during these seasons. It fills our hearts with quiet assurance that something good is being built, even if we cannot yet see it. Taking faithful steps requires a kind of daring optimism. It is easy to act when success is certain, but it is an entirely different thing to move forward when outcomes are unknown. Faithful steps are not blind. They are informed by hope, a belief that even imperfect actions, even faltering progress, are part of a meaningful journey. Each small, faithful decision we make is like a drop of water that, over time, carves out great canyons. Hope fuels our persistence, teaching us that every drop matters, every step counts. Hope fuels faithful steps because it casts a vision beyond current circumstances. When the present feels heavy with disappointment or hardship, hope lifts our eyes to possibilities yet to come. It gives us the strength to dream, to imagine healing, change, and new beginnings. Hope stretches our imagination beyond what is to what could be, and that vision becomes the fuel for daily action. Without such a vision, it would be easy to be crushed under the weight of today's burdens. With hope, we carry those burdens with the knowledge that they are not the end of the story. Hope also transforms the way we experience challenges. Without hope, setbacks feel like dead ends, but with hope, we see them as detours or learning opportunities. Hope does not deny the pain or difficulty of the journey. Rather, it reframes them as meaningful parts of a greater narrative. Every obstacle faced with hope becomes a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. Every difficulty endured becomes a chapter in a larger story of growth and perseverance. Hope gives us the resilience to stay the course, to take one more faithful step even when the way ahead is hard. Faithful steps fueled by hope create momentum. Each action, no matter how small, strengthens our belief that movement is possible. Every day that we choose to act, to try again, to continue, we reinforce the habit of hope. Over time, this momentum carries us through seasons where motivation falters or when doubt creeps in. Hope becomes a self-renewing force, growing stronger the more we choose to walk in its light. The simple act of putting one foot in front of the other, of continuing to show up, is itself a testimony to the power of hope at work within us. Hope is what sustains faithful steps in moments of invisibility. Much of what we strive for happens away from the spotlight, without applause or acknowledgement. Growth often takes place in private, hidden from public view. Acts of kindness, daily disciplines, moments of integrity, these faithful steps might not be celebrated, but they are the building blocks of a meaningful life. Hope reminds us that what is unseen is not unimportant. It tells us that character is being formed, that foundations are being laid, that the invisible work matters just as much, if not more, than the visible results. Hope also nurtures endurance. Journeys worth taking are rarely quick or easy. They are marathons, not sprints. Without hope, the length of the journey can feel overwhelming, but with hope, we learn to pace ourselves, to celebrate small victories along the way, and to keep faith in the greater vision that lies ahead. Hope teaches us that delay is not denial, that slow progress is still progress. It helps us to embrace the process, to find meaning and even joy in the steps themselves, not just in the destination. Faithful steps fueled by hope create ripples beyond ourselves. Our persistence, our courage to continue, often inspires others in ways we may never fully realize. When we walk forward in hope, we light the path for others who may be struggling in darkness. Our actions say, "It is possible. You can keep going too." Hope multiplies through example. One person's faithful steps, taken with hope, can ignite courage in the hearts of many. Moreover, hope and faithful steps are deeply intertwined with trust. Taking steps forward, especially when the outcome is uncertain, is an act of trust in ourselves, trust in the process, trust that there is a larger story unfolding even when we cannot yet see all the chapters. Hope feeds this trust. It reminds us that life is dynamic, that seasons change, and that perseverance will not be in vain. Trust rooted in hope allows us to walk faithfully even in fog, even when clarity is lacking. Hope also fuels creativity in our faithful steps. When we are fueled by hope, we are more willing to think outside the box, to innovate, to adapt. If one door closes, hope encourages us to knock on another. If one method fails, hope invites us to try a different approach. Hope keeps us flexible and open-minded because it teaches us that there are many paths to success, many ways forward. It prevents us from becoming rigid or despairing when plans must change. Hope teaches humility as well. Walking in hope means acknowledging that we are not fully in control, that outcomes are not always predictable, but believing that our actions still matter. It means accepting that we may not have all the answers, but still choosing to step forward with faith. Hope allows us to live in the tension between action and surrender, doing our best while trusting that some outcomes are beyond our grasp. When faithful steps are fueled by hope, failure loses its power to defeat us. Failure becomes part of the landscape, not a final verdict. Hope reframes failure as feedback, as a teacher rather than a judge. It reminds us that setbacks are temporary, that falling down is not the same as being finished. Hope gives us the courage to try again, to begin anew, to keep believing in the possibility of success, even when success feels distant. Faithful steps taken in hope cultivate gratitude. Every bit of progress, every sign of growth, every moment of grace becomes a reason for thankfulness. Hope attunes our hearts to the small blessings along the journey, making the road itself part of the reward. Gratitude, in turn, strengthens hope, creating a beautiful cycle of positivity and resilience that sustains us even in difficult seasons. Hope also protects us from cynicism. In a world where negativity often seems louder than positivity, hope is a radical choice. It is the choice to believe in goodness, to expect beauty, to seek out possibility. It keeps our hearts soft instead of hardening into bitterness. Hope keeps us tender, open to love, open to wonder, open to believing that better days are ahead. When our faithful steps are fueled by this kind of hope, they carry a power and authenticity that nothing can counterfeit. At its deepest level, hope connects us to something greater than ourselves. It reminds us that we are part of a larger story, that our lives have purpose beyond immediate results. Hope anchors us in meaning. It tells us that what we do matters, even if we never see the full impact. It assures us that our faithful steps, fueled by hope, contribute to a tapestry larger and more beautiful than we can imagine. Faithful steps are fueled by hope because hope is ultimately the belief that light is stronger than darkness, that love is stronger than hate, that good is stronger than evil, and that the best is yet to come. Hope gives wings to our dreams and roots to our perseverance. It strengthens our hands for the work ahead and steadies our hearts when the way is long. Walking in faithful steps, fueled by hope, is not naive. It is profoundly courageous. It is a choice, day after day, to believe that our actions matter, that the future is worth investing in, and that we are part of something meaningful. It is to live with open hands and an open heart, even when the world tries to close us down. It is to dare greatly, to love deeply, to strive persistently, all because hope says, there is more. Faithful steps are fueled by hope, and because of this, they have the power to change not only our lives, but the world around us. They create ripples of possibility, waves of courage, and rivers of change. They remind us, and all who watch us, that as long as hope fuels our steps, there is no limit to what we can endure, create, and become. Would you also like me to craft a few short, powerful quotes you can pull from this text for inspiration or posting? Of course. Here's a full, smooth expansion of asterisk asterisk. Action matters more than perfection, asterisk asterisk. Written without headings and flowing naturally across approximately asterisk asterisk 1006 words asterisk asterisk. Just how you asked. Action matters more than perfection. It is a truth that liberates, empowers, and redefines how we approach every dream, goal, or responsibility in life. Too often, we get trapped by the idea that if something cannot be done perfectly, it is not worth doing at all. We hesitate, we delay, we make excuses, all because we fear falling short of an ideal that exists more in our imagination than in reality. But the truth is that progress belongs to those who act, not to those who wait for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, or the perfect version of themselves. Movement, however imperfect, always surpasses standing still. Action, even if messy or incomplete, brings change, while perfectionism only breeds stagnation. The myth of perfection is seductive. It tells us that if we just plan enough, prepare enough, or wait long enough, we will be able to step into action flawlessly. But life doesn't work that way. There is no perfect time, no perfect starting point, and no guarantee that everything will go according to plan. Real growth happens not because we waited for perfection, but because we dared to begin despite imperfection. Each action taken teaches us more than endless preparation ever could. It gives us experience, feedback, and momentum. Through action, we learn, we adjust, and we get closer to our goals. Action matters more than perfection because the world is moved by those who show up, not by those who wait until they feel ready. Readiness is a myth. It is action itself that makes us ready. Think of the artist who paints, the writer who writes, the teacher who teaches, the entrepreneur who starts the business. None of them ever felt completely prepared. None of them produced perfect work on their first attempt. But because they acted, their skills grew, their confidence deepened, and their impact widened. Their early attempts may have been rough, but they were real, and that reality carried them forward. We often admire success stories without seeing the countless imperfect steps that led there. Every masterpiece began as a rough sketch. Every thriving business started as a risky idea scribbled on a napkin. Every world-changing movement began with hesitant first steps taken by ordinary people. Waiting for perfection would have meant these contributions never existed. What changes the world is not perfect beginnings, but courageous ones. Action matters more than perfection because life rewards persistence and resilience, not flawlessness. Those who act learn how to adapt when things go wrong. They build resilience by facing challenges head-on rather than retreating from them. They develop grit, the willingness to keep going, even when progress is slow and setbacks are many. This strength is forged through doing, not through waiting or wishing. Perfection, by contrast, offers no resilience because it exists only as a fragile illusion. The pursuit of flawless beginnings often leaves us brittle, discouraged at the first sign of difficulty. When we prioritize action over perfection, we allow ourselves to be learners instead of pretenders. We acknowledge that mistakes are part of the process and that growth happens through practice, not pretense. Every mistake becomes a lesson. Every imperfection becomes an opportunity to improve. Those who embrace action are humble enough to know they will stumble and wise enough to see the value in those stumbles. They see each attempt, each revision, and each retry as a necessary part of mastering their craft. Taking action without demanding perfection also cultivates courage. It is an act of bravery to move forward without guarantees, to risk failure, embarrassment, or criticism. But courage grows with use. The more we act despite fear, the less power fear holds over us. Perfectionism, on the other hand, feeds fear. It tells us we must protect ourselves from any hint of failure, and in doing so, it robs us of growth, adventure, and discovery. Action says, even if I fall, I will rise again. Even if I fail, I will learn. Even if I am imperfect, I am still worthy of trying. In our relationships, too, action matters more than perfection. Showing up for the people we love, listening, apologizing, forgiving, encouraging matters far more than doing those things flawlessly. No one expects perfect words or perfect timing. They expect effort, presence, and sincerity. Trying to be the perfect friend, parent, partner, or colleague can paralyze us with anxiety. But acting with genuine care, even imperfectly, builds connection and trust over time. Relationships thrive not because we are perfect for each other, but because we are willing to show up for each other again and again. In creative work, action is the lifeblood. Writers must write bad first drafts before they can write good books. Musicians must play wrong notes before they can perform masterpieces. Dancers must stumble through rehearsals before they can deliver breathtaking performances. The willingness to act imperfectly is what opens the door to creativity. Perfectionism slams that door shut. It silences voices before they can be heard, kills ideas before they can grow, and extinguishes dreams before they can shine. Action also matters more than perfection because it allows for authenticity. Perfection often masks who we truly are. It demands a polished exterior, a flawless image, an impossible standard. Action invites us to bring our true selves into the world messy, beautiful, flawed, and real. Authenticity resonates more deeply with others than any image of perfection ever could. People connect to honesty, vulnerability, and effort. They are inspired by those who dare to try, to fail, and to rise again. Our imperfect actions can inspire others far more than our silent striving for unattainable perfection. Moreover, action builds confidence. Confidence does not precede action, it follows it. Each time we act, even when we are uncertain, we build evidence for ourselves that we are capable. We prove to ourselves that we can handle discomfort, that we can survive mistakes, that we can move forward even when we feel inadequate. Over time, this self-trust grows, and we begin to approach new challenges with greater assurance. Waiting for perfect confidence before acting is a losing battle. It is through action that confidence is born. Taking action over seeking perfection also aligns us with the true nature of progress. Progress is not linear, tidy, or flawless. It is messy, full of twists, turns, breakthroughs, and backslides. Those who act accept this reality and work with it rather than against it. They understand that 2 steps forward and 1 step back is still progress. They know that starting small is better than not starting at all. They value momentum over polish, growth over appearance, reality over fantasy. When we choose action over perfection, we give ourselves permission to be human. Humans are inherently imperfect, and yet capable of incredible things. To demand perfection of ourselves is to demand something unnatural, something impossible. To act, knowing we are imperfect, is to honor our humanity and all its potential. It is to acknowledge that we are works in progress, and that is not only acceptable but beautiful. Choosing action over perfection requires self-compassion. It requires the willingness to speak kindly to ourselves when we fall short, to encourage ourselves to try again, and to celebrate effort over outcome. It means replacing the harsh inner critic with a supportive inner coach, one who says, "You're doing your best. Keep going." Self-compassion fuels sustainable effort, while self-judgment paralyzes us. In professional life, action also outweighs perfection. The most successful entrepreneurs, leaders, and innovators are those who take calculated risks, launch before they are fully ready, and adapt as they go. Markets change, technologies evolve, and waiting for a perfect plan often means missing the opportunity entirely. Acting decisively, learning from feedback, and adjusting course is what builds thriving businesses and lasting impact. Perfectionism, by contrast, is a recipe for missed chances and stagnant growth. Education, too, is built on action. Students learn by engaging with material, making mistakes, asking questions, and trying again. No one masters a subject by reading about it alone. Mastery comes through doing, through struggling, through persisting. Educators who create environments where mistakes are welcomed as part of learning foster deeper understanding than those who demand perfection from the start. Even in matters of personal growth, action beats perfection. Building new habits, healing from past wounds, developing emotional intelligence all require repeated action, not flawless execution. Growth is cumulative. It is made of small, daily choices.